One night, when I was about 12 or 13, my parents were gone for a while, and I was just staying up really late, like anybody, past midnight, on my desktop, waiting for them to come back home. Like most people, I had been told a million times not to talk to strangers on the internet, but about half my friends list on my video game were people that I had never met before, so I was just chatting with a bunch of strangers. Out of nowhere, one of my online friends had told me exactly what I had been doing for the past hour or two, like what I was eating, drinking, playing with, when I had gotten up last, things I hadn't mentioned in the chat ever. I instantly got a horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach because my desktop was set up in front of a big window, so as far as I knew, this person I had been talking to, that was supposed to be living in a different country than me, had found my address and had been watching me through the window. Turns out, he had somehow hacked into my webcam. I always left it plugged in even though I had been warned not to when I wasn't using it, and had been frequently watching me through it whenever he wanted. It's been 10 years, and I still have all the cameras on my devices covered in thick duct tape, because that incident really scared me. I had just moved into my apartment. It was around 8:30 p.m. and I heard the doorknob moving like someone was putting a key in it and turning and knocking. At first I got really excited that my then boyfriend was home, but then I realized it was only 8:30 and he was supposed to come home from work around 10:30. So I looked out the kitchen window and didn't see his car, or anyone's car for that matter that I had known, parked outside. That's when I panicked. I knew that this wasn't somebody I knew. The doorknob kept moving for a few more seconds and then stopped. A few minutes later, they stuck some piece of metal inside the door, between the locks, trying to get the door open. I freaked out at that point and locked myself in the bathroom with a knife and called 911. They tried to pry the door open for about 3 minutes, but they stopped when they realized that I had called the police. The police surveyed the area and found an elderly man roaming around with a knife and a crowbar. He told the police that he used to live in that apartment and he wanted his stuff back that apparently we had stole when we moved in. I was told that he was very delusional. I'm so thankful and glad I didn't answer the door once I realized it was no one I knew. To this day, my heart stops when someone knocks on my door. In fall 2016, I moved into half of a really old house. It was built in the 1880s, a stone's throw from the original campus of Indiana University, which is now a park filled with homeless people and drug addicts. The owners basically turned it into a weird duplex. My friend had lived in it before I moved in and he claimed that it was haunted, but I didn't really believe him because he was a bit of an odd guy. Anyways, the layout of the house was weird. You walked in the front door and were in a living room type space, and then you kept walking and there was a doorway to a bedroom, and past that was the kitchen. The only door inside the apartment was to the bathroom and one that led to the shared basement, so my first night there was uneventful. I was a little uncomfortable because I hadn't lived by myself in a long time and was just feeling lonely and on edge. I stayed up late and eventually I fell asleep, but I woke up again around 3 a.m. Cliché, I know. What woke me up was what sounded like a group of drummers who were drumming on every flat surface of the living room. It went on for a while, and I was completely terrified. It was just very creepy. After about 2 or 3 minutes, I finally gathered up the courage to get up and check on it, and as soon as I passed the threshold to the living room, it just stopped. Nothing happened the rest of the night, but I didn't get much sleep. A couple days later, a friend was visiting, and he was about to leave. We were standing by the front door next to the bookshelf, and I told him about how I was having trouble sleeping, and the story from the first night. And as I was saying this, a brook threw itself off the bookshelf and onto the floor about 3 feet away. It flew past the dresser, and that was a long distance. There was no wind or anything that could knock it over. My friend also saw it, and he just gave me a creeped out look and said he had to go. I really don't blame him. Eventually, I asked the guy in the other half what was up, as he had lived there for 8 years. I'm sure he knew something. He told me that no one stayed there longer than a year, and they all reported the same shit. For whatever reason, he said nothing ever happened on his side. It doesn't really make sense, but I know I'll never go back to those apartments again.